Are you thinking about making a move to the Portland metro area, specifically the West Side, because you need to be working or close to a hospital? Well, in today's video, we're going to cover 4 major hospitals on the West Side. And if you stick around to the end, we're going to do a bonus hospital that a lot of people don't know about or need to know about. And we're getting after it right now.
If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living in the greater Portland metro area, then make sure that you click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so that you can be the first to know about everything there is to know about living in the great Portland area.
I'm Ann Stewart. This is Erica Hagfirst. We are your go-to gals if you're making that move to the Portland metro area. We pump out content every single week on our channel. So like Erica said, hit the subscribe, tap the notification bell. And if you're moving, say in 9 days or 90 days, reach out to us. All of our contact information is in the description below. We would love to have a conversation with you about making the move here. All right, so the first hospital on the West Side we're going to talk about is OHSU, Oregon Health Science University. Very well-renowned hospital on the West Coast. There's 2 campuses. There's the Markham campus, and then there is the South Waterfront campus. And so if you need access to OHSU, whether you're working at OHSU or you want access to be close to it, there are some people that want to be close to it. Probably one of the closest neighborhoods that you can be in is the South Waterfront.
Great area.
Great area. Now, what's interesting about the South Waterfront is it's actually designed around OHSU, and the tram goes all the way up to the Markham campus. You're going to find down at the South Waterfront, there is a ton of condo options, both for rent and for sale. There are some unique townhome styles, few and far between, but you can easily get to the OHSU campuses on foot if you live in the South Waterfront. So we're going to say that's like the #1 neighborhood you'd probably want to consider if you're working or need to be really, really close to OHSU. We know of a few people that have bought down there because they have to be close to it as doctors or medical professionals. And we know of someone that actually rented down there while they got medical procedures done and they were, from out of state. So South Waterfront is a great option if you really need to be close. But there are other neighborhoods that are close to OHSU.
Yeah. I mean, there's John's Landing. There's, you can be close in Southwest Portland and still have great proximity to the hospital. Even, if you wanted to go to Northwest Portland, there's some great options there, very quick. So I would say anywhere within a couple miles of downtown Portland. I mean, or the hospital specifically. You could possibly cross the bridge into Selwood. Just keep in mind that Selwood Bridge does get quite busy during traffic times, but we've had people who, have thought about like commuting back and forth via bicycle. So if if that works for your schedule, that could be an option as well. We do also know that a lot of times medical professionals aren't necessarily always going at exactly like 9 to 5 hours. So it could be a good option for you as well if you're looking to have, a lot of walkability in your neighborhood where you live. So
yeah, and some other neighborhoods you could consider is Burlingame, which is in Southwest Portland. You could consider John's Landing, which is right there in downtown, pretty close to the South Waterfront. Hillsdale could be an option. You really want to stay closer into Southwest Portland. So some of these areas we're mentioning, you just want to make sure you're, depending on your commute sensitivity is really what is going to matter. So if you're looking for under 20 minutes, like we'd mentioned, South Waterfront is going to be your best bet. John's Landing, parts of Burlingame, you can easily hop down and get to OHSU rather quickly. But if you're okay to be 25 to 30 minutes, you can even look further west, which would be like parts of Lake Oswego, not all of Lake Oswego, because parts of Lake Oswego are going to be too deep into Lake Oswego to get there in a fair amount of time. All of Southwest Portland at that point would be a fairly, would probably work to some degree. You just want to make sure if you're sensitive on time and commute, that you really analyze those times that you might be working.
And that's something to keep in mind as you're calculating your commute, is make sure that you're calculating at a time that you're actually going to be traveling, because a lot of times these areas are not going to be that far. You're going to be like, oh, it's a 10-minute commute, but it's not a 10-minute commute at traffic time. So make sure that you're calculating those commutes when you're going to actually be commuting, because, it's like that famous mistake of like, I always map things out at, late at night. And I'm like, oh, look, the traffic's fantastic. It's only going to take me 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it ends up taking you 30 or 40. And that is our traffic here, because a lot of those roads, especially around OHSU and the South Waterfront, they are not in great shape. Like,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're in some of those neighborhoods, I mean, it feels like you might be in like a third world country. So keep in mind that these are, one lane each direction sometimes. They're not going to be like great for commuting. So just make sure you calculate that correctly.
Yeah. And then two other neighborhoods you could consider are Portland Heights and kind of the Northwest Portland area. It's kind of pushing it. Like Erica said, you want to be careful of the streets because they can get congested fast and furiously, even though on the map it doesn't look that far away.
Mm-hmm.
But those are areas you could also consider if you're, depending on your commute sensitivity. So the next hospital we want to bring up on the west side is Good Sam's. That's actually where I had my son way long time ago. It's down off Northwest 23rd, so it's right there in the Northwest area. And if you don't know Northwest 23rd, it's a hopping area. You can walk down and around Northwest 22nd, Northwest 23rd. It's a great hospital, and it's right in the epicenter of kind of that hip and happening kind of area. So what are some of the areas that people could consider living in if they need to be close to Good Sam's?
Yeah, so you could be, down in the Pearl if you want that. Even, some of that waterfront area right off the Pearl is a great area. You could be in PDX Heights, the Northwest Portland. Forest Heights would be a great option. You could pop right down Burnside and Cornell. Let's see, there's you've got Sylvan Hill, lots of good options all in that whole West Hill.
Yeah.
On the front side, the Portland side would be a great option.
And you can see it when you're kind of driving through. And we call Pill Hill, which is like our name that we give PDX Heights and Portland Heights, which are all those really big, beautiful, 1930s, 40s homes on the hill that you see a lot of times when you're driving through downtown Portland. That we call Pill Hill because a lot of doctors live in that community because they're close to so many different hospitals. You could, easily commute to OHSU or Good Sam's and even St. Vincent's, which we will talk about next.
Yeah. And even like the Alphabet District would be a total option. Most of downtown, like the heart of downtown, is going to be a good option for Good Sam. You want to stay clear of South Waterfront because the same thing, commuting on those roads is going to be a little bit of a traffic thing. Same thing for, OHSU, why you wouldn't necessarily make Northwest your number one ideal, but it's an option.
All right, so the next hospital we're going to talk about is Providence St. Vincent's, and that is up off Barnes Road, up at the very top of where 217 and Highway 26 meet up. And there's a lot of neighborhoods that could work for somebody. And so, Erica, why don't you tell them about, what are the closest neighborhoods they could consider if they really had to be within a 20-minute commute?
I think the most common are going to be like the Cedar Mill, Cedar Hills, Bethany, Raleigh Hills, those are the most likely that you're going to be living in if you want to be close to St. Vincent's. You could do the backside. Bonnie Slope of the West Hills is going to be a good option as well. If you are looking for something a little further out, I do have some friends who, both work there and they live out in North Plains. And so there are some back roads that you could take for that commute to not make it too long. But I would say generally, the Cedar Mill, Bethany, Cedar Hills. I know those are two very close. Cedar Mill and Cedar Hill.
It gets confusing.
M and H. But those are both great locations. Maybe some of Beaverton. But I feel like if you get too deep into Beaverton, it's you're going to be looking at a pretty long commute. But yeah, Bonnie Slope, the Bethany area, those are going to be
and just
really
the traffic.
fantastic.
Like if you see it on a map, you'll see once again, like Erica always makes a great point to say that on a map, things don't look that far away. But
everything's close.
Yeah, but when you get traffic involved, it can really change the dynamic of your commute. And what we're trying to explain is some people in the medical profession have to be within less than 20 minutes of a hospital or 25, 30 minutes at most. And so we're trying to give you an idea of what are those neighborhoods that you should really start focusing on if you really have to be sensitive to those neighborhoods. All the neighborhoods we're bringing up, by the way, are excellent neighborhoods.
Yeah.
People, usually good school districts. Usually the price points are a little on the higher side because they're so desirable and a lot of medical people try to be in those. But you can't go wrong with any of these neighborhoods, both, commute-wise or, the types of neighborhoods you're going to get.
So another area that would be a great option for St. V's would be Forest Heights.
Forest Heights, for sure.
It's right there. It's great homes. You've got lots of options in terms of, they do actually have some townhomes in there that, every option up there. And then the other thing to think about is regarding the commute, the Highway 26, 217 interchange area, always very busy. So that's where a lot of congestion is happening, obviously, because you've got the interchange. And then there's just a lot going on in that area anyways. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about those commutes.
And the last hospital on the west side that we'll bring up is called Meridian Park Hospital, which is located in Tualatin. It's right there on the corner of Borland Road, not too far away actually from the I-5 interchange. And there's quite a few areas you can consider in this area. So Tualatin, pretty much all of Tualatin, you're going to be within 20 minutes or less of the hospital. So all of Tualatin. And then there's parts of West Lynn. Now, these parts are usually like Stafford, which is kind of our acreage scene kind of out there. We've actually done a video on it, so check it out. And then there's parts of West Lynn that are, I mean, literally the West Lynn Tualatin border is right there just behind the hospital a little ways. So you could easily look in parts of West Lynn, not all of West Lynn, because West Lynn is very big and it would take you maybe a little bit too long. But again, there are some back roads that you can take. Willamette in West Lynn would be good because there are easy back roads to get to and from. And Lake Oswego is also an option. But again, you want to stay on kind of the south side of Lake Oswego because Lake Oswego could honestly take you just 20 minutes to get from one side to the next. So it's you just kind of want to, you know, look at those careful areas. What else is an option?
You can look at Wilsonville. So North Wilsonville, even, you know, you probably want to stay away from maybe the deep west side of Wilsonville. But I would say that that's a great option. You just go pop up. And there's a lot of side roads. You know, you can take 65th and whatnot. So you're not having to pop onto the highway, which is generally a very busy section of road through there. And so, you know, I think that kind of encompasses a lot of those areas.
I think one more that you could consider is right around Bridgeport Mall. Bridgeport Mall sits right in the Tigard, Tualatin area. And as long as you're kind of in that area off like close in Durham or Upper Boones Ferry Road, you'll still really close to get to the hospital.
And something that's really interesting about that area is that sometimes you get a Tigard, sometimes you get a Durham, and sometimes you get a Portland address.
Yes.
So don't be like confused, but those areas all kind of, you know, can take on different names.
Yeah.
But they are kind of right there in that like Tualatin-ish area.
Yeah, so definitely a lot of options depending on where, you know, you want to kind of, you know, live. But those are the cities we'd recommend if you're going to be working at or around that Meridian Park Hospital. And because you stuck around to the end, we're going to give you a bonus hospital on the west side, which is a little further out, and that is the Kaiser Hospital out in Hillsboro. It's probably only about 10 years old. It's fairly new. It's very large. So if you are working at Kaiser or you belong to the Kaiser network, then you're going to want to know about this hospital and what are some areas that you could live in to be close to it, Erica?
Yeah, so obviously Hillsboro is going to be a great option. Hillsboro is a big city, so lots of options in there to keep you close. Cornelius, which is a booming town, would be a great option as well. You just have to go a little further out. Forest Grove, also, if you're looking for a smaller town feel, would be a great option. You could even do North Plains, which is a growing, you know, little, I don't even know. I don't know if I want to call it a town.
It's like a hamlet. I mean, it is a city here, and it's really up. I mean, to say it's up and coming is kind of funny because it's kind of been known all along as like farm country.
It is,
but a lot of it's been rezoned into. They've been building subdivisions, so and it services a lot of the high tech areas, and a lot of the new construction sites out there are selling out. So while it seems like on a map that it's further out, people actually kind of like that. And
it's really not.
It's not that far out.
Super close to Hillsboro.
Close to the freeway.
Very close to the freeway. And there's a lot of cool things that are starting to pop up out there. But yeah, those could all be great options. Even possibly banks, if you really need, you know, like affordability or something like that. But, you know, I would say Hillsboro, Cornelius, and then Forest Grove would be your best options for that.
Yep. Well, thanks for watching this video on where to live if you need to be close to some of these key West Side hospitals. If you have questions about your commute or needing to be close to another type of medical area, drop it in the comments or reach out to us. All of our contact information is in the description below. We love getting calls, texts, and emails from you, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye, guys.